News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. Coming up on today's show, Jesse's dream home has turned into a nightmare. Patricia is leaving on vacation. What should she do before she leaves to prevent problems? And how do you get rid of mold possibly hiding in your home? Once again, hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show. And we've got a great group and an interesting last-minute addition question regarding a flying spider that apparently has made its way to the cover of People magazine. Joining us for today's show to answer and ask questions, Cora Henderson, who is one of the head honchos over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. You can reach Cora. They do a great job of closing your loan that you're going to be purchasing on your new home. You can reach Cora and her folks at 895-9900. Also here, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. You can reach Brad for getting your home inspected, which he's about to do on the home that I'm buying. And or if you have termites and bugs and the like, he also owns Team Bug Out. You can call 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to help you. We'll come out. I'll do a free, no obligation analysis, and we'll look at what the prices are in your home in the area and come up with a plan. You can reach me on my cell phone anytime, 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right. Flying spider. Cora, you brought this up. You read it in People magazine. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me just kind of lay down this information. So it was all over social media. I've heard many of my friends talk about it today, and we're all freaking out because this colorful spider that supposedly has 8 legs, it's the size of your hand. Well, depending on whose hand we're talking about, but it flies in the air and it's venomous. Now, I'm not sure if it affects humans, but flying spiders the big as your hand, I'm scared. Brad, say it ain't so. Do you know anything about this spider?
So, yeah, I know what you know, Cora, which is the last couple seconds of information. Here's what I found out real quick. Okay, one, it's not made the cover of Arachnid magazine, so I don't know why it's on the cover of People magazine. Okay, as far as it being an invasive spider, a dangerous venomous spider, apparently it is venomous, but not to humans because their little teeth can't get through human skin.
Good.
But the other thing we found out, right, is that it is just a big, ugly spider. Now, ugly to some, probably beautiful to many, but it flies on its silk. Okay, so the little webs that it spins, that's how it moves. But yeah, I think they said the size and coloration of it is what's going to freak people out because it's so big. It's not dangerous, and I don't know why it's made all of the rounds, but apparently it's been spotted in Georgia back in about 2010. So it's just, I guess, picking up coverage on People magazine. So thank you for that in-depth information out there. But
that will do it. That will bring it to the attention of a lot of people on People.
That's true.
Magazine. Yeah, right. A reminder, you can see a rebroadcast of today's show and actually hear it as well by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's our redirect to our YouTube channel where this show is residing. All right. We go back to questions now, actual questions coming in from you, the listeners. This one's going to Cora over at Pitt and Frank Attorney. Jesse sent us an email. My husband and I bought what we thought was our dream home last summer in Oldham County. However, since moving in, we totally regret the purchase because they've had nothing but problems. First weekend in the new house, basement started leaking. Turns out there was a hole in the foundation behind the electric box allowing water to come in. They fixed the basement issue. Another issue popped up. The paint and tape are peeling from the drywall. A family member that is knowledgeable in construction saying there is a lack of ventilation that needs to be handled ASAP, along with having the drywall retaped and painted. They're devastated, according to Jesse. The dream home's become a money pit. And Jesse is asking, do we have any recourse? Is it possible to get the sellers to pay for some of these issues, even though they closed late last year? Cora.
Jesse, I am so sorry that has been your experience. And I think your concerns are very valid and that there may be an opportunity to generate a claim against the former owner. So there's a lot of thoughts and considerations that we would want to discuss with your particular fact pattern. But generally speaking, we would want to ask questions like, who is the seller? Was this a builder? Did they have a warranty? Or if it wasn't a builder, did you purchase a home warranty? Did you reach out to them? Were you able to mitigate any of your expenses? through the home warranty coverage that you had enrolled in. Sometimes that saves you, and other times it may not be covered. Also, we want to look at that seller's disclosure that was provided to you and to see exactly what was disclosed or what may have been omitted. And so part of that big claim opportunity would be to present a seller misrepresentation claim to say, hey, arguably or allegedly, we believe that this seller knew or should have known about a certain condition of the property that now has presented itself and ultimately has created, sounds like pretty significant damages for you on a number of different issues. So it's possible that we could review those documents, review those facts to see what type of legs to that claim. Maybe it's like that 8-legged spider and we've got lots of legs to that claim, and we can go after the seller. And there would be several different ways that we could do that. We could discuss that, whether it be a phone call, attempt to negotiate, a demand letter, take them straight to mediation, arbitration, if that's the remedies available in your sales contract. But just generally speaking, those are the thoughts and processes behind that we would want to take a look at. Also, we would want to ask, did you have that property inspected? And what did your inspection report reveal? What other types of professionals did you have that took a look at that property?
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, you have 1 year typically from the day you close or from the time you discover, Cora, when you see the issue occur, right?
That discovery piece is key because it's not necessarily 1 year. So let's say relative, if there was a mold condition and that generates a claim for damages there on the repair side of it. If you had some work done to the property that, let's say 6 months after closing or a year after closing, and it's discovered that there was black mold on the property that you can prove predates your period of ownership, we can still go after them because you didn't discover that mold issue until, the year afterwards. So you're not cut off, clean cut a year post closing. It actually stems the year from when you discovered the condition.
Okay, we move over to, speaking of mold, that's coming up later in the show, how to get rid of mold possibly hiding in your home. A reminder, by the way, we're very proud of our reviews. If you'd like to read some of the reviews and then maybe give me a call to talk about coming out to help you list and sell your home, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. Brett Lawler, Patricia writes in that she's leaving to go on vacation for 3 weeks. She's living in her townhouse and it will be unoccupied when she's gone. And she's wondering what steps should she do to prevent problems around the townhouse while she's out of town. This is a great question because a lot of people are going on vacation very soon, if not already. Thoughts? Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing you want to do is make sure that the water systems are shut off. If you can shut off the main water supply to your house, that's all the better. Do that a little bit in advance because a lot of times if you haven't used a valve for a while, as soon as you turn, it's going to start leaking, which, not a problem, but you may have to call a plumber in to repair the leak on that valve. So this isn't something you want to do the morning that you're walking out the door to the airport. But shut the water off at minimum. Cut the water off to your washing machine. This is a problem for a lot of people when they travel, particularly in the wintertime, not so much in summer because you have freezing water lines that will break and people come back to flooded homes. But, I had friends several years ago that had an ice maker line break during a summer vacation and it flooded the house. So cutting off water is probably one thing. The other thing that I would do is just from kind of a security standpoint, leave some lights on, leave some, if you can get some of these programmable bulbs or these smart plugs, even the old-fashioned timers that just set a light on a timer, just make it look like you've got a little bit of activity. And then obviously I'd want to make sure, me personally, I always let, a neighbor or two know that I'm going to be away just so that they've got, another set of eyes on the house. Even if you've got cameras and, security systems like I do, just let somebody know you're going to be away.
Make sure the mouse picked up, things like that. There's some general stuff you can Google and but the water is key. And if you know where your main shutoff valve is in your house, are you saying that you should just shut the water off completely to all extremities?
Yes, I would. Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, turn the water off on the main shutoff valve.
Hey, Brad, what if it's like freezing temperatures outside? Do we need to be cognizant of leaving it dripping, though?
So if it's freezing outside, it depends on the house, Cora, because sometimes you can shut the water off to the house and drain the lines. Some houses you can't. If you've got lines that are running through the attic, then I think I would agree with you. In wintertime, I would probably just keep the water running a little bit. Again, but I would shut the water off to your washing machine for sure. Keep sink, the cabinets under sinks open, water, running through there. But yes, summer vacation is probably a little bit easier because you're right. You may leave water in the lines and you'll have to be aware of that.
All right, moving on. You can sign up for our free bi-monthly video updates. Go to WeSellLouisville.tv. That's WeSellLouisville.tv. Back over to Brad Lawler of Home Team Inspection. Zoe has an interesting question, and it would a lot of condo owners and townhome owners who are really listening to us, and you might be interested in this. She says she lives in a townhome. She sees the company that the condo association hired putting out some sort of bait system for termites, but she's wondering for herself and any other condo townhouse homeowners, how do you, as the residents, know the termite company that the condo or association hired is doing a good job in preventing termites? She also wants to know how she should look to see if what she should look for to see if there's a termite problem. So how do you know if the termite company that they're servicing your location is doing a good job?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. I just had an HOA president call me just the other day to ask the very same question. So with these systems that you see the little green discs outside, okay, I won't name brand name, but
you're talking about the ones buried in the ground, not flying overhead.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. And so what you've got are the technician has to actually open that up to see whether or not the termites are eating the cellulose inside of those systems. That's the part. Oftentimes those things get buried. Landscaping crews are putting out mulch. Technicians can't find them. There's ways now to use radio locators to track them all down. I don't know that I've ever seen a technician do it. I'm sure they do. But yeah, for the HOA, the thing is they almost have to. It's a matter of trust. So I would actually probably have one of the HOA reps meet with one of the technicians from that pest control company and go through the process with them just to make sure that they are being checked, because it seems like it's an often neglected area right now. And we, rather than using liquid termiticide, they're using these other we'll call them monitoring stations. Sometimes they're a baiting station, and you don't know what's going on inside. It's only the technician opening them up. So I guess it's one of those trust but verify situations.
Yeah, Zoe also asked, so how does she or a homeowner know, what do they look for to see if termites are crawling in their house?
Right. So they would be looking for mud tubes. We have eastern subterranean termites in our area. So if in a lower level garage or outside of the house, if they see little mud tubes, that's a sign that you've got termite activity. You'll see those probably before you see a termite come through a wall. They will come through paint, and you'll see these pin-sized holes and a little bit of dust falling out of them. But yeah, usually look around the outside. The technicians should be doing that type of inspection for them every year at least. But again, I don't know if that's getting done all the time.
Would the flying spiders be able to consume those termites? Possibly?
I don't know. It does not sound like they are a termite eating type of spider.
Too bad.
No, it is too bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Coming up in just a couple of moments, we're going to tell you how to get rid of mold possibly hiding in your home. Brad has some definite views about that. We're going to take a break, continuing with us till the top of the hour. Cora Henderson, who is one of the head folks over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys. They do a great job getting your home loan closed. And you can reach the folks at Pitt and Frank. They have a variety of locations, 895-9900. Also, Brad Lawler continuing with us, Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. You can reach Brad and his teams at 844-411-TEAM. If you're thinking about selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to come out and talk to you and help you. It's a free, no obligation visit. We sit down, we talk about what the process is, and look on the laptop to see what the comparables are in your neighborhood. You can call me anytime at 376-5483. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're continuing to the top of the hour. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran, who's a friend, Shark Tank fame, a variety of things. And she's a mentor, and we love her endorsement of us. Continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. They're the #1 Home Team Inspection Service now 9 years in a row, and they'll hopefully make it to the next level, 10. You can reach Brad and his team for inspections or for bug servicing to get rid of them, 844-411-TEAM. Also continuing with us, Cora Henderson, who's with Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a great job of getting your loan closed. You can pick the closing attorney that you want, and Pitt and Frank is one of the tops in the city. You can call 895-9900 to get on their schedule. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to come out and talk with you. I'll spend as much time as you need. We talk about the process and then what needs to be done or not done, and then what's pricing for the home and what the market looks like. You can reach me on my cell phone, and it's free, no obligation. 376-5483 is my direct cell phone number, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, mold hiding possibly in your home. Austin emailed us this question. He says, I was moving some furniture around and discovered patches of mold on the wall. How can I get rid of it? Does vinegar kill mold, or should I use bleach? So we go to Brad for some insight. Brad, vinegar, bleach?
Yeah, well, okay. So my friends who love natural products are going to hate my response from this. So here's the thing about bleach. Bleach will change the color of the mold. Bleach doesn't always kill the mold.
Oh.
So, and I know that there's people are going to be calling in my office saying that I'm crazy, that it's 100% effective. It's not. I have done testing of homes and commercial properties where they have used bleach to try to clean it. And I come back in and there's mold spores in the air and there's active growth on the wall. It's just, rather than it being green-gray, now it's just white. So that's not effective. Vinegar. I was in a commercial building here 3 weeks ago, and a tenant had cleaned her air conditioning coils with vinegar. And while it completely discolored all the metal, because vinegar will do that, the cladosporium mold was still active and growing and living on those coils. So I'm not a believer in vinegar or bleach. Now, I do know, I've had personal experience when COVID hit. Home team did all of our disinfecting using a product called Mold Armor in the white bottle, not the green bottle, but it is a viricide, it's a fungicide, it's a moldicide. Works great. Is it a professional quality like a mold remediator would do? No. But is it good for cleaning up spots? Yes. There are other products out there. I know some people use TSP, trisodium phosphate. They believe in that. Some people will buy products like the pros use, like Shockwave off Amazon. I think you have to be really careful with those type of products. Those are really effective. I've seen too many people try to use, natural type product to attack mold. In order to get rid of mold, you got to get rid of the moisture. Okay. So when you got a couch pushed up against the wall, it absolutely can trap moisture behind it. If you got very humid conditions in your house, talk to your HVAC company, because even those humid conditions in the house are conducive to mold. Mold has to have the right temperature to live in. It loves the same temperature we love. Can't do anything about it. It has to have something to live on. Molds live on boxes. It lives on walls. It lives on textiles. All sorts of different places. So you can't really do a lot about that. But if it doesn't have moisture, it cannot grow. So the biggest thing is you got to get the moisture out. So the question that Cora answered previously, about when you're doing, renovation projects after you move into a house and you tear out walls and you find mold behind the wall, how would you know it? And this happens a lot. But what it does, it tells us that there's been conditions that are conducive to that mold growth. And usually it's water. That's typically it. So keep your house tight, keep your house dry, keep your humidity levels correct. Make friends with your HVAC company, get them out there a couple times a year to service it, and you're going to be, well ahead of the game in keeping mold at bay in your house.
All right. Back to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys. Tanya asks in this email, is my neighbor allowed to cut the easement assigned to my property? Apparently, Tanya says, I own property with a 66-foot easement by necessity. My neighbor keeps cutting the grass on the easement after I cut it. I like to maintain 4 inches, and he keeps cutting it down to 2 inches to match his side of the easement. You can see what's going on here. Is he allowed to cut the grass on the easement? He also blows the grass clippings all over my driveway, so I've got to break out my lawnmower each time, which makes more work for him. Or her, Tanya. So what's the answer on this?
The battle of the grass cutting neighbors. I like this. Tanya, so the answer is it depends. So I know you mentioned easement by necessity, but so was that easement, are you assuming you have that right under the law, or was there actually a deed of easement executed? And if there was a deed of easement executed, which should be the way that we're handling this, it would be recorded. I would love to lay my hands on it and be able to read that and further advise. Specifically speaking, it may call for the maintenance of that easement area for one of the property owners to be burdened with that. So if in fact you're responsible for your share or you're responsible for the entire easement area, there could be a number of different ways that might be handled through the easement document itself that we would want to examine and then further advise. Or, if it's silent, generally speaking, let's not forget the easement may grant the right, the privilege for someone to come on to your property, but it's still your property. So in which case, unless it says that this other property owner is to maintain it, if you know where your property lines are, then that is, of course, where you're supposed to be maintaining. And so if you said you like that 4-inch buffer and that's yours, and he's coming onto the property, that easement area for anything other than whatever that easement is granted for. So if he's not given an easement to come over and trim it an extra how many ever inches to match his property, if that's not a condition of that easement, then he shouldn't be doing that. That's not allowed. But I would want to examine the use of the property and the easement document itself just to further confirm that.
Do you take them to court? I mean, how do you handle this nicely?
Well, court can be very expensive.
Yes.
So again, I think that having the legal document with our facts correct, that will give you that ammunition to be able to have that polite conversation to see if you can handle it in a professional, courteous way. And then if that isn't able to be done, if he doesn't believe it or doesn't want to take your word for it, or maybe you want to get an attorney involved, happy to make that phone call, happy to write a letter. And then, and only then, I would think if things escalate up to an adversarial action, of course, you can file a court action. But those often, of course, don't get resolved quickly. And it's certainly not inexpensive. So there are steps that we can do before that if you're willing to do those to try to resolve it.
Some real estate news. I don't know if you really noticed this in the Business First this past week. Louisville and Lexington landed in the top 50 of U.S. News and World Report's 24-25 list of best places to live, which is interesting. Lexington came in 15th on the annual list, and Louisville came in number 42nd, one spot lower than Portland, Oregon, and ahead of Davenport, Iowa. I thought that was rather interesting. Best places to live. Also, we got this email from Shannon, Brad, and Cora. You might be interested. I read she says I should line the crisper drawer in the fridge with paper towels before you put produce in there, and then replace the paper towels every time you add a new batch of produce. Apparently, this ensures that your vegetables stay fresher longer. And if you have a bag of lettuce or spinach that you're trying to keep fresh, it can help add paper towel directly to the bag. It will keep the crisper drawer clean too. Any thoughts? Have you heard about this? You have.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a refrigerator that actually has a system in it that basically does just that. It regulates the humidity level, so you can just toggle a little valve in it. And then the other thing is that if you aren't familiar with the green bags, those produce bags out there that, make things last a whole lot longer. Yeah, I know that a refrigerator without that type of device in it, wet paper towel would probably, help a little bit. I certainly would keep the drawer clean. I'd have to change it out a bit, but I don't think it's.
Did you say a wet paper towel or just a paper towel?
You're going to want a little bit of dampness in it, I would imagine, if you're trying to add some humidity, because that's what those systems do in those refrigerators. So again, I don't know, a refrigerator without it's been so long since I've had one that hasn't had that little crisper drawer
Brad,
function.
You're talking about where you have the toggles that'll be like you can toggle it onto deli meats or fresh produce or fruits and vegetables.
Yep, exactly.
Totally understand. I have a family of 6, so it doesn't even have time to season or become humid. I mean, my kids just eat it right out. So
vegetables? They eat vegetables right out of there? Wow, that's
good kids.
Remarkable kids, yeah.
Back to
Mama
Cora.
trains them right.
Well done. Final question, Cora. Nina has a problem with her new home. In this email, she writes that the builder just told her the closing has been delayed 2 weeks because of labor shortage. Meanwhile, Nina has sold her home, and it's expected to close next week. She does not want to move twice, and the buyers of her home do not want to extend the closing until Nina's new home is completed. The interesting point she writes in is that the contract specifies the end of June, I guess the last day, is the latest of the closing date. So she has, by contract standards, till the end of June. And again, the buyers are refusing to move the closing to the following week. Nina wants to know, what should she do? Anything?
So it sounds like her preference is to stay in her current home until she's able to move into the new construction. And, oftentimes, even if the builder wanted to let the buyer in early, they can't because they don't have that certificate of occupancy. Right. So, that aside, if she wants to stay in her current home and her current contract for her sale home states that it has to close on or before the end of June, then I would like to know on what grounds does the buyer have to demand that the closing occur earlier. I would want to review the contract. I know that our current current board form here in the greater Louisville area would account for that day if it's a set time frame, or if it's a time span, like let's say 15 to 30 days, and let's say that 30th day falls within the end of June. If the parties can't agree, it happens on that last business day. So I'm uncertain as to how or on what grounds, like I mentioned, that the buyer can demand that closing occur earlier, and therefore putting out that seller, so to speak, making them simply homeless for a week or so until that other closing happens. So this is where who you work with matters, and who their real estate professional is. So their real estate licensee, should be fighting for them and examining that board contract and explaining this to them, and certainly getting with their preferred legal professional, what closing attorney is closing this. Have them explain that to you to say, on what grounds can they do this? Why can't I close at the end of the month and be able to legally and contractually do that?
Yeah, and there are ramifications on either side. Certainly the buyers may not want to move twice as well, but
something's got to give. And so we want to look at where that contractual right and duty exists within the contract, because what's in writing matters. And I understand that people make other plans, and all of that is just preferences. But legally, what does the contract say, and what are the requirements? And that's what I'm interested in. And it sounds like it may be that she has the right to hold off closing until the end of the month. And it might not be preferable to her new buyers, but, again, somebody's got to give in this scenario, unfortunately.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the only caveat to what you just said is if in a repair response, a date for closing was actually put in there. I guess with the terms, time is of the essence, regardless. It doesn't matter if the time and date is in the response and the seller has signed it, you're not locked into that closing. Am I right?
Right. And to your point, Bob, did we modify that closing date and any subsequent addendums, including any repair requests? So that would be included in your contract, and any addenda there too that we would need to confer and confirm what is that closing date, and then we can tell you what your rights and obligations and duties are.
Yep. Nina, if you need more help, Cora is available, and
Absolutely.
Frank is a place to go for your closings as well as help for legal issues. You can reach Cora and her team at 895-9900. Also, if you're thinking of possibly needing your home inspected like I have and Home Team has done, you can reach out to Home Team Inspection Service and also Team Bug Out if you've got pests and you're worried about those new flying spiders out there. You can reach Brad and his team at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the near future, I would love to come out and help you. It's free. It's no obligation. You basically call me and we do a sit down. We look at the house, come up with a plan, find the price of what the home should be based on what we look at on my computer, because I carry my computer with me, and we look at comparables. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. That's it. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.